to make sure it's working. Yep, it seems working.
Now, hang on though, stop it, you can start it again in a second.
That's
what
okay,
I want us to do,
we can cut it.
Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to give this to Fred after we've done it, but I want to record something for the Truebrow community. I want to talk about maintenances, and I want to talk about, this has been one of the biggest issues. I never had this issue in my salon, but they always come back to this maintenance question, right? And I want to unravel it with you, right? Can we do that?
Yep. So you're talking about the we do the maintenance, they're doing the maintenance, and then they skip one or whatever.
No, well, no, I'll explain to you the program, right? So let's say that we're starting. So everyone, this is Brad. I'm introducing you to Brad. How do you say your last name? Haran?
Yeah. Well, actually, funnily enough, we say Horan, but Haran's also okay.
Okay.
That's the American way.
Is it?
American way is Haran, yeah.
Haran is the American way.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, I like Haran. Okay, I like the other one too. Okay, all right.
I don't care. Again. Either way is fine.
All right. Okay, everyone. I'm here with Brad Horan, or Haran, if you're from the US, you know, there's any which way. And Brad is one of our experts inside of the Smart Salon Beauty Mastermind Group. So Brad, welcome.
Thanks, Elle. Great to see you again. Meet with you again.
Yes, great to meet you. And you're going to catch up with Amy, Sammy, and also with Jane on Sunday when they're getting ready, just before they get ready to go to the Australian Beauty Industry Awards. So that's exciting, catching up with our educators.
It's very exciting. I have been researching wine bars. They asked me for some ideas where we can meet. And of course, with my little kids, I don't get out much. So I've been honest with them. I said, I don't really know, but I've researched a couple of places and these look cool.
I know, I've been looking at the messages and saying to Toby, this is adorable. And they're beautiful girls. And Sammy's obviously up for, she's a finalist for Educator of the Year. So it's really, really a big day. And I'd like you to give the girls a little bit of a heads up on your background, just so that, because today we're going to talk about the Truebrow program, the strategy, what worked for me, what's worked for other salon owners, and some of the little pitfalls that people can get lost in when it comes to the maintenances and things like that. That's always been like something that I don't understand why it's a problem, because to me it's so clear. But it's really good to bring in a different perspective, and I really want to do that for the girls. So if you could just let us know, you're in Sydney, obviously in Australia.
Yep.
And tell us what your background is.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I have been, but it's really important, I think, to recognize that I'm not a tax accountant. So tax accountants focus on reducing your income so you don't pay tax, or you pay less tax. My expertise is in management accounting. It's about making really clear and smart decisions that allow you to grow your income and to grow your business, and leveraging finances and operations together to make it more successful.
Wow, I love that. And you've got a fabulous pricing strategy, haven't you, that you you work with in another industry that you're sort of, you know, working with. What's that about? Tell us a bit about that. Is that like helping? It's like, just tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, look, it's really, I guess it's a sort of a methodology that's been built up, and it's not just the pricing side. The whole framework that I work within when it comes to finance and operations is that it's really about people. And, you know, when we think about the people that we need to deal with in our business, we've got our staff, we've got our customers, and then we may have other stakeholders. And in many cases, you've got a husband or a wife. You may have someone that's invested money in your business. You may have a bank that's given you a loan, but they're all people. And so I think the really critical thing to think about is that when we're doing all of these things, whether it be operations or finance or sales or anything else, it's about people. So the framework that I have for pricing is also heavily vested around people. So it's, and you know, you and I have been doing a lot of sort of marketing over the last few years in this cohort that we've been in, and there's a lot of stuff that comes through from that as well. But the first step is really to understand your customer value. What is it that you do really well for your business? I get that everybody has a business, and you might consider that all beauty businesses are the same, but of course they're not. And the things that are really important to me as a business owner in my business are what makes my business unique. And so we start there and say, well, why do the customers come back to us? What do they really value about what we do for them? And then we layer on top of that a really clear understanding of the process that the customer is going to go through, so that so we know when we can tell them about that value proposition, when we can tell them, when do we get to connect with them and say, well, this is our customer promise, this is what we promise you, and you're going to love it because you love the value we provide. And then we sort of stack those value pieces on top as we look at the overall pricing strategy, and we start to say, well, there's different customers within our base. They're not, even though we've got this core piece here, which is our real customer value, there's some people that want a little bit less, some people that want a little bit more. So we stack and subtract and adjust it so that we have some really, really clear products that allow us to get to service those high-end customers without costing us a lot more money, but they feel wonderful about that. And we have opportunities to also service those customers that maybe don't want to spend quite as much. And it's a really interesting structure that allows you to maximize profitability, but more importantly, you still maintain that really powerful customer journey and that proposition where the customer wants to come back to you because they're still getting value no matter which price point they come in at, what they're most interested in.
I love that. And I think that sometimes in the beauty industry, what happens with beauty professionals, they don't have a business background all the time. So they find themselves really just extending services that they're good at, but they're not thinking through the complete strategy. So I think that for me, I was really aware of that when I started teaching the Truebrow system, Brad, because one of the things I said to Toby 12 years ago is that if we don't give these girls a real system that they can use, they will just start discounting their Truebrow services. It's going to happen inadvertently. They're going to find that they're not going to be able to either get good enough to bring in to be the word of mouth salon in the area, or they're just going to start to discount because they don't have a strategy in place that we call the Truebrow program. So I find that, and this is what I want to talk about. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that you're just the perfect person for me to just bring in some perspective, even for myself. Like, I want a new perspective if I need to have one, because I never had an issue with my maintenance services. I used to put, the fear of God in my clients, and I'm not kidding, because I was so busy. So it was just, and I think it comes down to leadership too, and knowing what you're offering. Inside of me, every cell in my body, I know that what I offer is above and beyond anyone else can offer in my area. It's the same with my brow training. It's the same thing. I don't have a question mark in my mind. Is it the best? I know it is. And I think that I do these things on some unconscious level because I know that I don't want to compete. I'm extremely competitive. I do believe I have an aspect in me that is extremely competitive, and I don't want to move in that. I don't like navigating through that because it's not comfortable in me. I just think, no thanks. So I think somehow I must just, I don't know, innovate so that I don't have to deal with that part. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like I've always found that I've always just offered above and beyond, and it's the same with the brow training. So when I had my salon, I would put the fear of God in my clients because I had to, and they would say to me, "Oh, I'm coming in 2 weeks. Yep, got that appointment for you." See, I used to book my clients in front desk. Now there's booking services online. People go, they can change their appointments. I would never have that going on. Even if I was in a salon now, I'd be in total control of my bookings, right? And I would just say, look, if you miss this appointment, I'm just letting you know. I don't know if I can get you back in. And they were just mortified. So it was like, oh, no, I'll be here, I'll be here. Sometimes they'd even say to me, oh, there's not much to do today, Elle. And I'd say, just lie down. And then they'd look in the mirror and they'd go, oh, wow, I can't believe it. That looks so amazing. So there's a couple of pieces in that. One is I led my clients. I lead them. I tell them. They come to me because they want to listen to me and they want the most beautiful brows. Secondly, the piece is the work that I would do was perfect. Like they wouldn't, that's why proficiency is so important in Truebrow. You've got to do what you say you can do, because otherwise, if you're leaving a hair, too long instead of trimming it correctly, you're not pulling out all the right hairs, you're not doing the right thing, why are they going to come back when you tell them, right? So for me, it was like my being really at the top of my game gave me that. That's why I constantly tell the girls that. I mean, I don't know why they think I tell them. Maybe they think I tell them because I want them on live classes, or it's just because I know the power of it and how it works. Then they just don't argue with you. It's kind of like there's no space in their mind to think, oh, should I listen to it? Maybe I'll leave it an extra week. It's like, well, I don't know if you can get in. Just see how you go,
Yeah.
And so I never really had that kind of problem. But again, there are a couple of pieces. So when I started Truebrow, and I said to Toby, we need to give the girls a system. They need to have a program that they can offer to their clients. They need to be able to tell their clients they're stepping in for premium brow treatments. These are not normal brow treatments like a brow shape or a brow tint. They're premium brow treatments, and they need to be able to offer them in the menu as such, so that the person can see, oh, they're not normal brow treatments. So if anyone hasn't done that, they're doing themselves a disservice with Truebrow, right?
Yeah, I think there's I think there's two components to that. I think one is understanding the worth, right? And I think it's very common in beauty salons and other service industries where people undersell their worth. They don't understand the value that they're providing. And the other one to that, which I think you touched on there, without, I don't know if these are the words that you would use, but what you were doing is you were selling the outcome. You were selling people that you're going to have amazing brows, and if you miss your appointment and you don't get back in, they're not going to be amazing anymore.
Yeah.
And so you're selling the outcome. And I think a lot of people can get hung up on selling the time. So instead, they're selling a 45-minute appointment.
Yeah.
Not selling the outcome. And the problem with selling at a 45-minute appointment is that it's a lot harder to sell, right? Because I'm taking away 45 minutes of your time, and I'm asking you to sit in my chair, and I'm going to do some stuff, and then you're going to use 45 minutes, and I'm going to charge you for 45 minutes, and you're going to leave, and I want you to book another 45 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is. And that's not the same value as, saying, is talking about the risk. Okay, if you can't achieve your maintenance and you don't come back, then it's gonna be a lot more effort, and we have to do more things. And we have to do more things because you've lost the look that you're going for. And the risk of that is that you're not going to be beautiful, and you're not going to be, everyone's not going to be in awe of what you're doing, and it's going to be harder for us to get it back to where it was. And so I think it's really important that if you're selling that outcome, the time is less important. Now, there's a risk to that, because it may be that an appointment takes 35 minutes or 40 minutes or 45 or 50 minutes to get to that outcome. And it may be that you feel like you can only charge 30. So there's a risk to when you go to the outcome. But of course, the opposite side of that risk is much greater, because as long as you're good at what you do and you can get more efficient, then you might be able to take a 35-minute schedule into 25 minutes and have 10 minutes back to yourself. And that doesn't matter to the client, because they're not watching the clock. But it also allows you to stack things into different packages, because now if I can do that, and if I'm going to be there, they're going to be there for 30 minutes and I can finish that in 20, well, maybe I can do another service that they could pay a premium price for. Maybe I can add a product that's going to create a premium price. So you can start to have different pricing levels and different packages that are, designed to give you a better outcome, not more time, but a better outcome. And there are people that want to pay for a better outcome. They might not want to pay for more time, but they want to pay for a
Yeah,
better
that's the
outcome.
thing, isn't it? I have always said that maintenance isn't about time. A maintenance appointment isn't about time. Like I'll have some of my girls, and it's understandable that will say, oh, but this client only takes me like this amount of time, and I feel bad charging them for the full maintenance price. And I'm thinking, that's your expertise she's paying for. She's not paying for time. She's paying that for exactly. See, I wouldn't put it in those words.
And I
She's
think
paying for the outcome. Yeah, it's
the
great.
the point is that when I started and I was good at this because I've done all your training, maybe it took me 30 minutes. But as I've got better myself and I've honed my skills and I've improved my approach and I've got better products as they've evolved, perhaps I've got better equipment as that's evolved. Why should I be penalized when I can do the
Get to
same
be better.
job faster and more effectively?
Yeah.
Why do I, and then also for the customer, why do they have to sit there for another 20 minutes when they want to get on with their lives and do their things and show off their beautiful brows? Why do I need to be there that long, right? So the challenge with selling time over outcome is that when you improve, you don't get the benefit of that when you're selling time. The customer gets the benefit of that. And
yeah, I just love that.
so then the customer's getting two benefits. They're getting the fact that you're better at what you do and that you're faster. And that seems a little unfair to me.
Yeah.
Why not share those benefits, right? I'm better at what I do,
Yeah.
and so the customer, you still get what you want. In fact, you're getting something even better than someone else can give you for the same price, and I get to keep the time, and I can allocate that time to another customer.
I actually love that. And I have spoken about maintenances a lot. I'm just going to put my little darling down. Just give me 1 sec. And I actually am going to open the door for it. Just give me a tick. Here you go, darling. Enjoy it. Come on, off you go. And I want to just bring up this, I would have a lot of the time girls saying to me that, oh, the client doesn't need to come back for 3 weeks. Again, it's like, so they would have all these tiered maintenances. You can have a 2-week maintenance for 55, a 3-week maintenance for a certain amount, and a 4 for a certain amount. Now, I never did that, ever.
Sounds very complicated and difficult to manage.
And imagine the customer, right? So for me, I would say I would never do that. Like for me, simplicity, clarity, it's just for the customer. This is what you do.
But hold on now. Aren't you the expert? How am I coming to you because you're, or your beautician because you're the expert? I want you to tell me what I need, because if I knew that already, I wouldn't need to come and see you, right? So to me, if you're going to stay and be elevated as like the best of the best, you need to be telling me what I need. Now, if I'm coming in every week and you're really doing nothing, then I'm going to start to think, oh, well, is this really worth it? But if you're honest and you're saying, this is what needs to happen to maintain this, then I don't understand why I'd be given all these options. That's just going to be confusing for me. And I'd be thinking, okay, what? So if you're offering me 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks, then I guess 4 weeks is fine, because I don't want to come in every 2 weeks, because that's spending my time. That's more valuable to me than $50, $60, whatever the price points were.
And bringing another piece into that, we're actually recording right now for Truebrow Education. Toby, interrupting. So I think that, let me bring in another piece into this, right, into what you just said. The Truebrow system, the business model, not the system itself, sorry, the skill, but the model, the business model, because most beauty professionals don't know even what a business model is. Let's be honest. We don't sit there going, oh, what business model am I going to pick? And that's not their fault. They've stepped into doing treatments, getting clients, and new client acquisition is the biggest thing. Where do I find clients? How do I find the people that want to come to me? The majority of the time, people will discount to find people. But, Truebrow, our business model is totally the opposite to that. Is just become so stand out, so that never has to happen, right? So what happens when you go and tweak the Truebrow business model strategy? you really stuff up, right? You create all these problems for yourself that the Truebrow business model has eradicated because it's so pristine and clear. Example, you get a client to come in every 3 weeks or 4. Number one, their brows are not looking spectacular all the time. Like when someone's coming in for a maintenance, their brows are just hit. It's like your lawn, your front lawn. You're not going to mow it in summer when it's overgrown and looking absolutely tatty, because people are going to go by and go, gosh, those guys don't even mow their lawn. Oh, no one's going to look at it, right? Not that I'm saying.
Or you'll get we had a 3.5 meter snake in our lawn, so that gets hidden.
Oh, I
know. they'll be hidden in there, and you'll be in big trouble.
Freaking out the rest of the world, Brad, with your snake. So you're going to mow the lawn just when it needs to be maintained. You're maintaining it. So if you let their brows grow out, they're not walking around advertising themselves, saying, look how beautiful I am, and certainly not your business. The other thing is that when they come back, it's no longer a maintenance.
I just want to make a comment on that. Like when the lawn does grow out, you start to feel guilty, and you start to think, oh, I need to put some time aside to mow that lawn, and you start to feel bad about it. And honestly, like, it's crazy, right? But you start to feel, oh, and then you go, oh, I didn't do it again this weekend, and oh, I need to make some time for that, And so from your point of view, and when I think about the pricing approach that I think about from the customer value point of view, are you really giving them the value that they want or that they need?
Yeah.
If you're making them feel uncomfortable and unbeautiful and unfinished and unkempt, that's probably not what they want to be. And so there's a whole element of understanding what that customer really believes in and really feels that they need.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that once you start breaking down the Truebrow business model strategy, you're creating an absolute different model. You don't get what that model has been created to do. It actually has been created to have you in the lane of absolute specialist.
I think when
there's a real path to it. And if you start breaking it down, then you're creating problems that don't actually really exist if you keep that model going. But it's very hard because you're dealing with humans. So I'm dealing with my Truebrow specialists, and then they're dealing with their customers. So their customers are going to give them what they need to grow into in a lot of ways. So for example, they will come and say, oh, do you think I need, could I go an extra week? And then bam, it hits the specialist, and she's going, oh, I'm not sure, maybe, maybe she has not money. She was saying she's struggling. And so they might go, oh, sure, look, let's push it out a week. Whereas I wouldn't do that. I would say, well, to be really honest with you, no, I need to have you in at this time. And I also am not afraid that if I lose a client, that I'm not going to get a new one. So I don't have those fears. I never had them. Now you might say, excuse me, just putting on the aircon in Greece. You might say, but why didn't you, Elle? Because I knew what I was extending. I knew that what I was giving that client, no one else could give her that. And she knew it. Because every time she walked out, she was in love. And I had my tweezers sometimes right at the door. Like sometimes I think, oh, hang on, heck, well, I forgot a hair. I missed a hair. And I'd be going out to the door. They knew that I had them. I was holding them. And I know so many of my girls, most of them are doing that, but they miss that little piece. It's not about feeling sorry for the client. It's about finding the right client that wants to fit into that Truebrow business model strategy, because it's best for her and it's also best for you. And that you almost have to, it's like a little speed bump in the road, where emotionally you're going to get triggered, and you have to know what is not the emotion can't lead you. You have to go and hang on a minute. You've got to sit back before you open your mouth. And you have to say, I really need you here in 2 weeks. Now, if you don't really need that person in 2 weeks, but, I would say the majority you do, then you're not going to be dishonest. But if it's a real thing, you've got to help that person, Because then if you do it differently, then you're not using the Truebrow business model strategy. You're using some other one that you've made up. And if you've got problems with it, well, you know how many people I've had that have come back to me and said to me, Al, you told me and I didn't listen. And even Olivia, you know, my own daughter, she said to me, right, you know, years ago, many years ago, Mum, I should have listened to you. I didn't listen. And I don't want to be right, but I know what I created because I created it from my own life experience. You know, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Brad.
Yeah, I'm really waiting for the day when my kids come to me and say, I should have listened to you. That's, you know, hasn't happened yet. We'll see when that happens. But look, I think there's when you go back to that piece that you talked about where you had like the, you know, the 2 weeks and the 3 weeks and the 4 weeks. If you're going to make a change to the model, it has to bring you some benefit, some value. And it should make things more simple. And my experience, I find the more simple the model is, the more effective it is, the more understandable it is to the customer, the easier it is to manage for the business. And that includes not only the owner of the business, but the staff in the business. The less decisions they have to make, the easier it is for everyone. And so I think if you're in a position where you feel like there has to be an option for customers to opt out of the maintenance program for some period of time, then rather than having all these different stages and all these different things, I think you just need to come up with one sort of like interim or redesign or whatever it is, or it goes back to the beginning, whatever it might be, where you say, look, you know, once this maintenance period's out, we have to redesign because we're going to lose that. We're going to lose the look. We're going to lose something. And that redesign has more steps in it, has more effort in it. And so therefore, you know, we'll book that and it needs to be booked by this point. If it's then we're going back to the beginning and we have to go back through the whole, you know, the whole process again.
You know, I think the thing that's really so clear about that for also the specialist, you see, for me, if I walk, I'll give you an example. If I walk into a store and and I love window shopping, Poor Toby, I love it. It's part of my relaxation. I love looking at jewelry stores and costume jewelry, dresses, shoes. I could just float through Patra, you know, all afternoon, just walking around, just looking, not buying anything, but just looking. I just love it. But if I go into a shop and they've got so many dresses in a rack, overflowing, right? There's one particular shop that comes to my mind. They have the most beautiful clothes. They just got too many. I go in and I just think, oh, it's just overwhelming. I just get out. I go quickly do a little flick. I haven't really seen anything and it's too much. Whereas if I go into a shop and they've just got a beautiful collection, you know, I can move through them. I probably would buy something. It's the same with offering people too much choice. People want to be led by a specialist. They don't want a lenient specialist that's going to give them anything they want. And they're so kind. They're coming because they respect your expertise, and that includes when they need to return. And that has to work on both sides. So if the brow is growing out, and they're not walking around with these pristine, beautiful brows that just need tweaking, because that's what a maintenance is. It's just maintaining. Like that's the reason I used that word in the strategy, was because it's actually in the word, isn't it? I'm maintaining what's already created, right?
Right.
That's important, isn't it? I'm not
absolutely
rehashing, redoing. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just maintaining it. And it could be expressed like that in consultation when you come in for your fortnightly services. And if you don't feel comfortable doing fortnightly for people, do it every 3 weeks, but just pick one, 2 or 3. Which one is it going to be? Like pick one, and then if you need to change it because you realise, well, hang on a minute, this is like really ridiculous. And look, sometimes I would get people to come in every 7 days because they had so much hair. But these people knew it. You know, I would say, I'm really sorry, I can't do this in 14 days, or I would do not 7, I do 10 actually. 7's not correct. No, I think back so long ago. I would say 10 days. And that 4 days where they would come in just a little bit earlier would make the world of difference. and they knew it. They trusted me. I wasn't cheating them. I wasn't doing something where I was trying to take more money from them. And sometimes I tweak. I really actually back then I would, if it was in a situation that I had a client that I had it for so many years, I might tweak the price by, you know, $2 or something, but not very often. But I would get her to just come back in at 10 days because it made my life easier. And it also gave her what she wanted. And it is fine to have clients, I think, that decide you're not the right fit for them. It's better that than them twirling you around, cancelling, coming for, then you've got this emotional triggering going on inside of you. Do you know what I mean, Brad?
At the end of the day, that customer that isn't on board with the whole process, they're going to end up being a negative review at some point. They're going to end up hurting your business. The sooner that you guys realize you're not a fit and they're out, the better. Because if you're selling the outcome and they're not going to be happy with the outcome, then you've got a situation where at some point they're going to become a negative, and a negative tells 7-10 people and a positive tells one. So, you know, the sooner you can work out that this isn't going to be working for us, the better. And, you know, if you went along to one piece and you said it's going to be every 2 weeks, they're like, no, I can only do every 6 weeks. And you say, well, I'm sorry, we can't give you the outcome you want. They're going to walk away from that saying, well, I got beautiful brows and I'm okay. If they come 6 weeks later and you can't maintain it, then you've got a problem on your hands, which is much bigger and much worse for your business than it would be if it was then it would be to not have them as a customer at all.
You know, that's such an amazing thing. And I think that, you know, sometimes the clients that are not a fit might even give you time to do your live class, put up a brow, get some guidance, get some feedback, read through your course again. Like, get ready for the ones that are coming in that are prepared to pay you the right amount of money, and they're also prepared to be there when you tell them to be there, because they want to be led. They don't want to figure it out themselves. You know, I think that's really important. Coming back, I've got a funny story which I'll share before we wrap this up. I love this and I want to talk about it more because I think we need to give the girls guidance, because they really are committed. They really are. But the human element just comes in and it really gets quite challenging. You know, and then there's this whole lack, let me use the word, the way that we think coming from lack. I didn't want to say mindset because that's just so overused, but just the way that we think coming from lack and fear, oh, I won't get a new client. It's better not to have that client, but and have the space wide open for the right one to come in, to have one that's not the right client. Let me tell you a story, Brett. You'll love this. I had a client that came to me for brows. This was, I was 37, 38 years old, long time ago. So she came to me, and every time she'd come, I would say to her, I remember her name was Jenny. Can't even forget her name. And I would say, oh, your hair looks lovely. Oh, no, I don't like it. And I just think, this was like I'm telling you, she never, ever had a good word to say about anything. She's a sweet girl, right. Sweet lady. But there was something really going on in her, you know. And I would say, for example, I'd say her hair. She'd say, oh, no, they didn't do it right. You know, that actually, you know, it's too blonde for me. And I'd say, oh, it looks actually really beautiful, but I understand, you know, blah, blah. Never happy with her brows. Like, her brows were, I know if I didn't do a good job, I would know they were beautiful. But she was never happy. Anyway, well, in the beginning, actually, she never gave me that much. It was fine. But later on, there was always, you know, I'd pass her on to one of my girls and there would be a thing. But I'd look at, you know, it wasn't like this, I don't like that. I'd be thinking, they look beautiful. There's nothing that could be done to make them better, right? Anyway, one day I had one of my girls on the phone. She had her on the phone for 45 minutes telling her about why she wasn't happy with her brows. And I thought, oh, this is... And I said to my girl, I said, what made you think it was okay to stay on the phone for 45 minutes talking to Jenny about why she wasn't happy with her brows? Did you ever think to yourself, come and get me, do something different, say, look, Jenny, next time you come in? Anyway, so we had I had a bit of a laugh, a chuckle inside of myself. I'm thinking, wow, I really had to do a little bit more training in that area, that was for sure. But I made a decision, and I thought, this woman, as sweet as she is not a right fit for my salon. And I thought, if she's telling us she's never happy, no matter what we could give her we used to give her beautiful brows. there's a problem there, because she didn't only do it with us, she did it with everything. So one day I said to her, look, Jenny, I said, I'm not going to be rebooking you. And she'd been coming to me for a few years, right? And she said to me, oh, why? And I said, because we can't make you happy. And I said, and I really meant it. I said, I want you to be happy. I said, I want you to find the place that is going to be your happy place for Browns. And I said, and it's just not us. Because no matter what we do, you're just not happy. And, it wasn't easy for me to do it.
Yeah.
But I also thought, I'm not going to be the enabler for this pattern in her that for 45 minutes, let's not even go there, but it was like enabling that in her. And I knew that she wasn't a fit for us. And she said, oh, but I want to come back. And I said, I know. I said, I really understand. I said, but we're just not the right fit, because I said, I really want you to be satisfied. We can't satisfy you. And I said, I want to thank you, and I wish you the best of luck. And I mean, she would come, her daughter would come, but it was just, that was it. There was no more. And you know what? There was never a lack of clients, never a lack of clients. And sometimes you need to call it.
I wonder how you felt, Elle, before and after that, because my guess is that you were sort of dreading when she was coming in, subconsciously dreading, because you knew these 45 minutes are going to be painful. And afterwards, you're not going to be proud of yourself. I mean, that's really hard, right? And for your staff as well.
Yes.
I mean, for a staff member who's new or young,
yes,
I mean, it's almost a cancer in the business. And
Mm.
if you don't feel that you're proud enough to, at the end of it, and for you, maybe you were experienced enough and you thought it was okay, but I imagine it still affects your mood, probably, right?
Well, I think for me, I knew it was her, like,
Right.
and that's, to say that, that's a rare thing. You have to be 100% sure to say that. You can't just go throwing clients out the door and saying, oh, they're, when it's not. I mean, I was clear. But you're right, Brad, for my team, it was hard. And it would get them into an emotional spiral. So for someone that didn't have, like, I had insight too. It was a bit different. I was older, I had insight. I had insight into her, so it was kind of different. But for my team, I used to just like knock their socks off, and then that would knock them off for a good part of the day. So it just wasn't a fit. And I think sometimes when you've got to fire your client, it's hard, because you don't want to be doing that often. But if you do have that kind of toxicity, you have to know when to call it. But I think that this whole maintenance situation and the Truebrow program, I think we could help the girls a lot. And I'd love to hear from you girls too. Like, put your problems with maintenance below this this dialogue that I've had with Brad, so Brad can really look and see and go, oh, okay, I never thought of that, or that's interesting, or how can we help? I'm not really attached to anything. I'm here to support and help them, and that means you girls. That's what my prime, mission really is to get into their heads, see where they're struggling, see why. Not to say, oh, this is just perfect and you're just not doing it right. We need to sort of look at, have a look at the lay of the land for each person and see what it looks like and what their struggles are. Brad, thank you so much for giving us your time. This is awesome. Girls, I did mention earlier, and I'll mention it again, Brad is inside of the mastermind beauty coaching group that has just been launched, and will be there's actually a 30-day free scholarship, so you can all jump into that. Just let me know. 30 days live coaching every single week with these absolute masterminds that think of business in a completely impactful way. And it doesn't matter what size your business is. You don't have to have a big business, small business. It doesn't matter. Business is business. It all functions the same. And I encourage you to join us. Brad, thanks so much.
Thank you, Elle. I just want to add one little thing which you can decide to cut out later on, because I am an accountant. You might not resonate with this, but just talking about that toxicity. And I have a little model here, which is not mine. I stole it from someone else. But You know, if someone gave you $86,400 in the morning, and then later on someone stole $600 away from that, would you throw the rest of the $85,800 away? No, probably
No.
not. So there's 86,400 seconds in a day. If someone stole 10 minutes of that by bringing in some toxicity, don't throw the rest of the day away.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. That's so important, isn't it? And it's for
It
women
is.
especially. It's important because we're very feeling, we can be emotional, and we can take one thing that happens and just let it just gather moss all day. Before we know it, our productivity's gone down to zero. And yeah, love that. Why wouldn't I agree with that? That's fantastic.
It's too finance.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, Brad, so much. Thank you,
Thanks, Elle.
everyone. Bye for now. So good.